Good evening and welcome to the Rewind Show. Hashtag 152 of the Rewind Show. Another great show lined up for you this evening. Plenty of talking points. And as you can see, I'm Steve Brown, and over there at the sports bar in Bacup, it's Brent Peters. How are you diddling?
Okay, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Had a reasonable week. I don't know how your week's been. I'm expecting a little bit of football in midweek, but well, with this weather, it wasn't to be.
Are you getting the same weather as us?
I am.
In fact, Wednesday night, let me tell you seriously, 4:30, it weren't even forecast. 4:30, it came down with snow. All the tops of the hills around there were full of snow. It absolutely weathered down.
Snow, but I saw from the, I think Deborah were on Instagram, putting some pictures on, and yeah, a bit of sleet and snow.
Yeah, so it weren't good. It weren't good. Let's hope. I mean, it's not been that. It's not been that good today, to be fair. But it's supposed to be okay tomorrow, and then get everything ready for Bank Holiday Monday.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, Brent, that headset's doing you a world of good. You're ready for a job in a call centre now, buddy.
All right. Well, mate, I'll probably earn more money then.
Hey, we need it. Talk about money. How's it going?
It's tough at the top. It's tough at the top, mate, but it's even tougher at the bottom.
Well, you were telling me. I know we're digressing a little bit, but there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. The new club, the foundations have been put in. How's it going with the rebuild? Whereabouts are we?
Well, they're ready now for the builders, and I'm sure. Well, in fact, I got a message to order all the stuff for them at the beginning of this week, and I said, "Are they sure they're going to start this side of Easter?" And I don't think they realised that it were Easter weekend. So I'm convinced that they will be starting, next week after the Bank Holiday Monday. So they're ready for they're ready for the build now. The foundations are ready for the build, so it's ongoing. It's steady away. I'm hoping that the sooner we can get it up, the sooner we can get back to some normality. Because at the minute, it's like I said, it's tough. But it's tough at the minute as well because, well, it is what it is. We've not put anything out there on social media or anything about trying to raise money for helping us to build it. We're just doing what we've got to do. I don't believe that we should be doing that. In some respects, I mean, but it is tough. I've got to say. I mean, when you think that we've had the issues that we've had, which has taken us 35,000 over budget. It's very, very difficult. But listen. I don't want to come on here. It'll be great once it's finished and once it's done. Yeah. But the sooner that we can get, they get on it. I mean, let's be honest. If they'd have started this last week, they wouldn't have been able to do because of the weather. Hopefully now the weather will start. You know what they always say, don't they? March in like a lion out like a lamb, or vice versa. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, we're going out of March now. We're heading towards April, so I'm sure the weather will start to pick up. When the weather picks up, that job will kick on, and it'll be good. Yeah.
Got a few talking points. Going to talk about FC St Helens. Congratulations to them. So we'll talk a little bit regarding them. Talk about Accrington because I know that you were listening to. We were speaking about. The departure of John Coleman and Jimmy Bell from Accrington Stanley and all that. Andy Holt's been on Radio Lancs, so we'll pick up on a few of his points. But first of all, last week's game against AFC Blackpool at home, 2-2 in the end, and a little bit of banter between the two sides, especially after the match.
Well, it was 2-2. I mean, listen. I got a last week on the Rewind Show. Somewhere along the line, I must have upset the in what I said. But listen, it's like a text message. people read text messages how they want to read a text message. If you want to read a text message that somebody's having a pop at you or having a go at you or being, then that's how you'll read it. But if it's not meant to be that way, then you won't read it that way.
Yeah, it can get lost in translation somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, listen, whatever I said on this show last week, you've got to remember that under this current regime, this current management, the first time I've seen AFC Blackpool play was when we played them on the 27th of January. I hadn't seen them before that. And then the second time I'd seen them play was on Saturday. So all the time in between I hadn't seen. So the first time I've seen them play was that game when they beat us at Blackpool, right? And deservedly so, let me say it, because I said that at the time. Yeah. We were terrible, right? But they were horrible. We were terrible, and they were good. And and I complimented them that day and said that they worked the socks off. And when you get a team that works the socks off, that'll be when talent doesn't work. A workman-like team will always beat talent. Yeah. And I praised them, but looking at them on that day and how they set up and everything, they just looked like a team that had a free spirit, that could just run everywhere. They didn't really have much organisation. I'm talking about the game on the 27th. Yeah. So when I was making the comments last week, I was making the comments based on the
previous game. Yeah,
the previous game of what I saw, and that and I take nothing away from that. That's exactly what I saw. Did they deserve to win? 100% they deserve to win. And I give them every credit for winning that game. Now listen, they can take on board whatever I said and take it. If they want to mix it, twist it, or do anything and take it the wrong way, they'll do that. Whatever. That's just the mentality. But AFC Blackpool, as you know, is probably my favourite club in the North West Counties League. I have so much time. I'm friendly with Tommy Baldwin, the chairman, right? And I've got so much time for that club. I ain't going to let some guy will be here today and gone tomorrow start getting upset about AFC Blackpool because, like I said, they're my favourite club. Do I want them to stay up? 100% I want them to stay up. And they will stay up because, like I said before, the workmen, the way they work for one another, they just graft. And that's quite correct. So, but at the end of the game, I didn't even realise, but at the end of the game, I got paid. I was a little bit upset, really, but only upset from the standards that I set, because the guys come up to me and he said, listening to your rewind show, he said, I didn't have to do a team talk today. I said, you what? He said, I didn't have to do a team talk. He said, you did it for us. Well, if I did it for them, my standards have dropped because I guided them to I give them that much of a G-up and a team talk that they got a point out at game. On the 27th, when I didn't do the team talk, they got 3 points. They got all 3 points. So the team talk, what I've obviously done for them, didn't do them that well, did it? Didn't serve them as well as the one on the 27th.
You must have touched the nerve, though, Brent, somewhere along the line.
Well, I think I have touched the nerve, but the other thing is, I don't know where he gets his maths from, because he turned round, and I've seen it on social media, he turned round and he talks about that they've won, since they've been there, they've won 20 points to our 13 points. What he doesn't tell you is they played 4 games more than us. So it's not an equal playing field. They might have won 20 points to our 13 points in that time, but they've played 4 games more than us. So I mean, listen. If you want to start throwing pelters, fine, not a problem. I've got broad shoulders. I've got a blinking tin hat on. I love it. But get your facts right. End of the day, get your facts right. I can only go off what I saw when we played AFC Blackpool at Blackpool. I saw a team of a group of players that looked like on that day, right, they had been like kind of thrown together and they had a free spirit and they just absolutely worked the socks off.
Yeah.
And on that day, they beat us. We wasn't at the races, but their goalkeeper, especially in the second half, was different class.
Yeah,
and he kind of ensured that we got nothing out of that game at Blackpool, right?
Yeah.
Now on Saturday, let's have it right, and let's not, you'd have thought, I mean, I've never known a team in all my footballing career, and it's not my footballing career doesn't just stop in 26 years at Bacup. My footballing career goes beyond the 26 years at Bacup, at Doncaster and at Bury and at Lincoln, Glossop and at Rosendale and Accrington Stanley. So in all my time, I have never known a team celebrate so much for a draw. Absolutely mental.
I could hear them from the other side of the pitch.
They were celebrating a draw. Now, let's be honest, and I'm not going to take anything away from it. Like I said, Tommy Baldwin is a very, very good friend of mine, the chairman of Blackpool. Nothing I want more for Blackpool to stay up. And one thing's a stonewall certainty, with that group of players, with that endeavour and workmanlike, that they were going to the end, they will stay up. And to be fair, the management team that's took over, they've had some positive. I think I looked at it earlier, and I think something like they've won 4, lost 2, and drawn 1. So in the last year, that's pretty good. So they deserve they deserve credit. They deserve a lot of credit. And I mean, and the centre forward who actually got Simbin, I mean, for the life in me, I don't understand why he was losing his head, because you know what, I think he's a blinking top player. Him, I think he's a top player. I think he might have a bit of a short fuse or whatever, but if you could knock that out of him, he's a very, very, very good player. No two ways about that. But no, like I said, in all fairness, I'm not going to let whatever I said on the Rewind show, and he kept saying, listen to it back. I said, I was full of compliments for you. You worked hard. I think the word I used was, I might have used, they were like, I don't know whether it was like a pub team or a Sunday league outfit or something like that.
That might have touched a nerve.
That might have touched a nerve. But listen, at the end of the day, the biggest compliment I can give them, we've played them in 2 games now. And in both games, they've absolutely worked the socks off, and deserved, they deserve to win at Blackpool. And to be honest, for the work rate, they deserve to get something out of the game on Saturday. That said, let's be honest, it wasn't one of our goalkeepers' better games. Let's be honest.
No, it's one he'll want to forget really quickly, won't he?
Yeah, so they don't turn around and say that. But that said, as well, I've got to give. I mean, really, almost at the death. I mean, we were down to 10 men at this point, but they were. I think they were as well. I might be wrong, but anyways, right at the death, what epitomises us as well is when Lewis Byrne ran from one box to the other, and actually cleared one off the line, because they could have easily took 3 points at that point. And even previously before that, Ben Langley were in the right place at the right time, and he made 2 fantastic blocks on the line. So, in some ways, when they analysed that game, they might feel they're a bit unfortunately not to get 3 points. But I think from our point of view, and I try to be kind of fair, I think from our point of view, if we turn up as a collective, as a team, which we got off to a fantastic start with a fantastic, well-made and well-finished goal from Kyle Siddall, I honestly think that if the keeper doesn't do what he does, I think we go on to win that comfortably, to be honest. But our lead was short-lived because of I'd rather not give them the credit for the goal because come on, let's be honest, it was a blunder.
Yeah, it was.
So that's that's where we are with the Blackpool game. And listen, going forward, I wish him nothing but the best. Like I said, my allegiances are with the chairman, Tommy Baldwin. I mean, I go back a long way. I spoke to him on Monday. He's a fantastic guy. Does that? He does. He's funding that club, and I certainly don't want to see Blackpool go down, and I don't think they will.
Brilliant. Well said. A few more points. We're going to pick up on some more of what we're getting up to this weekend. Of course, double game. South Liverpool tomorrow, Darwen on Bank Holiday Monday. But you were listening to several weeks ago, we spoke on this show at length about what's been going on at Accrington Stanley, Andy Holt falling out with and departing out, John Coleman and Jimmy Powell departing the club. And you listened to the interview on Radio Lancashire with Andy Holt, and you found it really interesting. And a lot of the points that Andy was making were points that we also made several weeks ago on our show, Brent.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't usually sit there for an hour and a half. I think the interview were an hour and a half, and I don't usually sit there and listen to anybody's interview for an hour and a half. Normally, I don't have time. But let's be honest. I mean, Accrington Stanley it's one of my former clubs, so I have a taken avid interest in my former clubs, and Accrington, and obviously I go back a long way with John Coleman and Jimmy Bell, and whilst I wasn't privy to a lot of things what were going on and what had gone on when we did our show, you kind of put me on the spot and asked my opinions, and I kind of tried to be as fair as I could on both sides.
Yeah.
And what was interesting for me when I was listening to the interview, if you listen to Andy Holt's interview, and then if you listen to my interview with you after, I've ticked a lot of the boxes that were what I said were probably right. And one of the main things that probably came out of it was that I think I said on the show that they didn't, he hasn't, they didn't need to make that decision even if he wanted to make that decision didn't need to be made on the Sunday after the Wrexham game. It could have been held over to Monday, and instead of John and Jimmy taking training, they could have been summoned to the chairman's office and gone about the business behind the four walls of the chairman's office, and then made a statement Monday night, which should have been more credibility, a bit more creditable to the whole situation. And I think reading between the lines, when listening to that interview, Andy Holt, the owner, actually, he says probably in hindsight, I should have probably done things a little bit better on. I can't look through a crystal ball. I've done what I've done, but I maybe should have done. I should have. If I come back in this life again, maybe I'll do something. I'll do it different than what I've done. But a lot of the things that he was saying was quite interesting. Where he basically kept saying that he'd back John and Jimmy, even though he were against something that they wanted to do, which they wanted to bring the under-23s into the fold. Deep down, I don't think he wanted to do that, but because they wanted to do it, he went against probably most people at Accrington Stanley by backing them. And I think that's where it came, where there were a point in it where he goes about they cost me more money, because I think what were happening is he's got this group in and they weren't really good enough. But the main thing were what he didn't want to happen was he didn't want it to stifle the progression of the academy, because he spent a lot of money on their academy, and the fact that there were older players going to be coming in, who some of them just weren't good enough. You know, that were going to stifle the progression of people in the academy. And I think, you know, when you need to, anybody out there, they need to listen to the interview. And I did get listen, it's again, if you want to listen, if you're a John Coleman, Jimmy Bell fan, and you're not really an Andy Holt fan, then you're gonna look at that interview with in a different light. But I listen to it as a neutral.
Yeah,
I listen to it because I run a football club and I'm a manager, so I listen to it as a neutral. And a lot of what I could grasp a lot of things that Andy Holt was saying in a lot of ways. But so my point being here, I honestly think that if you're a big Jimmy Bell, John Coleman fan and you're not right keen on the chairman, adamantly you will dismiss a lot of what he said, because that's the way your mindset will be.
You're not going to be open to the full conversation between the two parties, are you?
No, but I got the impression, and it was longer, and I've got to give the guy from Radio Lancashire, he didn't hold no punches, the guy who was asking the questions, because
Andy Bears, I think it was, yeah.
He didn't hold back, on anything. And I did get the impression, as long as it were going on, that there were certain instances where he got a bit emotional. Did Andy Holt? He showed some emotion, So and it's kind of what I said on our rewind show. This should have been handled a lot better than it was. Yeah. Even if it was going to be the parting of the ways, because there's life after. It's like, and he even touched on the things that I touched on about life. And I say you can even get a divorce. You can live with somebody be married to somebody for 30 or 40 years, and then get a divorce. It breaks up. Marriages break up. He actually said that in there are things he said that are very similar to what I'd said in our show.
But you can break up, and you can break up amicably, rather than actually in a WhatsApp message on a Sunday morning after you've, spat your dummy out or something like that.
Yeah, but going back to that WhatsApp message, he did say the reason why he put it in a WhatsApp message, then nothing could get misinterpreted anywhere. Yeah. And it's in writing, it's in a WhatsApp message. So nothing could be, he said, I said, he didn't say that, I said that, it's there in writing. So it's not the best thing to do, but I listen to it and I'll go along with it. It's not, the bottom line is, you're right what you say. If you in your relationship away from football, if you've got the parting of the ways and it breaks down, there's nothing better that when the dust settles, that you can all get on famously well.
Yeah.
That's the ideal scenario.
Because if you look at them, if you look at Stanley, you look at John and Jimmy and Andy, it's been a blimmin' good relationship football wise. It's been a brilliant relationship.
Well, he said that. He said even up to a few weeks ago. But what we said it on the show, Jimmy should not have come out with what he did on BBC. So there were faults on Jimmy's part there, because he should not have done and not have washed his dirty linen or anything. Whether it were meant to come over like it came over, he shouldn't have done it on BBC Radio Lancashire, because, like the chairman said, it hurt him. It hurt him, and it looked like they were trying to drive, or he was trying to drive a wedge between the supporters and
it was almost like it was squeezing the chairman. You were
correct,
putting him under pressure.
And it upset him. So, but the guy who was doing the interview, he said, "Yeah, but John, you sacked John, and it wasn't John that said anything." And he was quite right then, was Andy Holt, the owner, when he said, "Yeah, but Jimmy is under John's jurisdiction. He's down from John. So John should have been sorting him out. And he said, and I actually said to John, he needed to sort him out. And he said, and I give him the chance to sort him out and sort it all out. And he said, and the fact of the matter is, simple fact were, they never sorted it out. So he said, eventually,
left me no choice.
He left me with no choice because they didn't sort it out. So listen, it's like the old saying, there's always two sides to a story. If a story breaks and it breaks, like say for instance, I don't know, how can I say it? If I turn around and it brought that you'd resign, say, from Bacup Borough for whatever reason, and you're going on before I've got a chance to say anything, and you go out there and you make points, and you did this and you did that, and I weren't happy about that, and then people will jump on that and defend you. But then once I get to say my say, it puts a different light. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realise that. It's the old saying that I say where, in life, you can get somebody, you can get a couple, right, that's been together for like, say, I don't know, 30 years. They've been together, and then one of the parties might go and have an affair with somebody, right? And then that affair leads to something, where they decide that they're going to leave their husband or they're going to leave the wife. And then somebody will turn around to them and say, hey, I didn't realise you've been together a long time. How come you split up like that? And let's say the woman, she turns around and comes out with something like, oh, you wouldn't understand, Sally. He snores like mad every night in bed. I can't get to sleep. He's blinking ridiculous. And then he gets up in the morning and this happens and that happens. And then you say to him, well, hang on, you've put up with that for 30 years, haven't you? Why all of a sudden it's just an excuse, isn't it? What I'm trying to say is it's a bloody excuse. It's facts, isn't it? They must make a stupid excuse up. It's bonkers. Well, I could say something a bit more blinking.
Oh, what you mean, yeah.
You get me? They're just making an excuse instead of coming out, oh, he just fell out of love or whatever. But they don't. They make excuses. They say they'll try and find a fault with a guy, or the guy will try and find a fault with a woman. And when people are asking, hey, you've been together a long time, I didn't think you two had split up. Why have you split?
It kind of makes it sound like it's acceptable. That's a reason to give them justification to break up.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a reason, but you say, well, but you put up with him. That's just an excuse, isn't it? That's it. And I just think that what's gone on up at Accrington, it's there's lessons to be learnt from both sides, I think, here. And
you did say, Brent, that during the interview, it was mentioned about the new chap taking charge, and that John Coleman had always said that this was the man for the job if ever there was a parting of the ways, and that's what they've done.
That's what they've done. Is he called John Doolan? Doolan. He said that. He said John always said to me, if any time I'm not here or anything, he said, you can't. He's the man for the job. And he recommended him for the job, and he kind of like said, I've watched him work. I know how he works. I can jump in the trenches. I'll be there. I'll back him as much as I can back him. I'll help him. But he did say as well. But if he were to do the same as what kind of John and Jimmy's done, unfortunately, it'll be the same. It'll be the same outcome.
Yeah. No, interesting.
But it were good. It were good, and if you're interested in it, I recommend you listen to it, because it just put both sides of the. There were mistakes, and I think he realizes, although he didn't openly come up and say, "Look, I'll put my hands up." Yeah, I could have. He kind of drifted around it a bit, but you more or less got the impression he would have done it differently. In hindsight, he said, but hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Let's talk about FC St Helens, North West Counties Division 1 North champions this afternoon. Great for them. They've had a cracking season. Got Mark Hayes down there working behind the scenes. Good for Mark and everyone. And no, we were talking this afternoon about, what makes a championship winning side. You know what makes a championship winning side. And it's a lot more than ability, Brent. A lot more than ability.
100%. What makes a championship? Like I've tried to drill this in at this football club. Look, I'm not privy to the age group without looking into it of SC St. Helens, right? But when we played them, they had some experienced players in that group.
Yeah, that's the group on the screen there.
Now, the one thing that's most important, if you've got ambitions to win a league, right? If you've got ambitions to win a league, then your players have got to have the same mindset going into every game. And the mindset is all about preparation. So they've got to prepare right. And what I mean by prepare right, listen, it might come out that some of them might play Sunday football, because you know what it's like down in the cities, like down in Merseyside, and
some good clubs down there.
Sunday football is big.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is what you've got to be. You've got to be consistent. And there's no two ways about it. You can't be inconsistent. If you look at some clubs, take us for instance, in one-off games when we turn up and we're capable of beating anybody, but you've got to put that level of performance in every game. And every game is a pressure game. Let's be honest. When you've got the top of the league leaders coming into town, everybody wants to beat you. It's a simple fact. So they raise the game, because if they don't raise the game, the opposition, they're going to get steamrolled. So that every team will raise the game against you. So you can't afford to go into games into a football match, right, as the current league leaders, right, carrying any player, any player in your team. You can't afford to, because if you're carrying somebody, you're not performing at the level that you need to overcome the opposition. Because every team, once you're up there, you're there to be knocked down, and then everybody boasts that we can only beat the league leaders on Saturday, or on Wednesday or on Tuesday. So this is why I say anybody who wins the league over 9 months, they deserve it. It's not fluked. It's not a fluke. One-off games can be fluked because decisions can. But over a season, you've got to be consistent. And obviously, FC St. Helens have been. There's still another month of the season still to run, and they've won the league with a month to go. So you've got to give them. You've got to give them some mounting credit, for that. And that's what makes you champions is all about your mindset. It's all about, when you turn up for a game of football, you're not just going to go on that football pitch and operate at 60%. You're going to go on that football pitch and you're going to give everything. Let me ask you a question here. Why do you think that that Scousers and when you're saying, we're playing the Scousers, you know what the Scousers are like? People say that. It's a natural fact.
I say that, but I say that as a compliment.
Yeah, but why do you think people say it? Because when you're playing a side from Liverpool or Merseyside or anything like that, they're competitive, the winners. The winners, they want to win every game.
It's all or nothing with them, 100%.
Correct. And that's why I've got the utmost respect for them. This is why I said on the show the other week when we were playing South Liverpool, who were playing tomorrow, I've got the utmost respect, because even the manager, because he's like me. It's built in him. He's a winner, and the players are winners.
Yes.
So they'll fight tooth and nail to win a game of football, right? And they'll go 100 miles an hour to win a game of football.
They'll do anything to win a game.
Yeah, exactly. Now you look at other teams, there's certain games that you can even look at us this season. We've gone in, and it's just like it's a given. They've turned up and think they're going to win it.
Yeah, just kind of going through the motions.
You can't be like that. That's not going to win you. That's not going to get you up there and winning leagues or getting into playoffs. You've got to be that mindset every game, and preparing right. You know, listen, I'm a bit old school, but you know, preparing right is not going out on a Friday night. You know, and going for a few beers and like after work on a Friday if you're in building trade and standing at a bar and you're still at a bar at 11 o'clock at night and you're having a few beers and going into football. That's not preparing right. Preparing right is, listen, you get home, you get good night's kip, and then you focused on the match. And then
if you look at the stats of a side who win a championship, you know, you've had a couple of championships. Your average player is going to be what I class as a Dennis Irwin-esque 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 every single week.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Every week. Them
stats are returned.
That's it. They've got to play at a level and a performance, and that goes throughout the team. You know, you're not telling me, you know, that if you look at, look, I don't want to highlight our deficiencies too much, but if you look at what happened on Saturday, you know, we've just taken the lead relay. If that was the top of the table team, we'd be going on again and again and again. So everybody's mindset's got to be. So everybody's got to be focused. But within 5 minutes, we've conceded a silly free kick in a bad area, and then when they took the free kick, it's Calamity Jane then, and what happened next? You know, now, if you're going to win a league, you can't afford them things to happen. It's like you've got to be fully concentrated. Now, in our group, we're a very young group, and I keep saying it. They've got to smell the coffee, because they're capable of winning a league. Our group, capable as a group, they're capable, but they've got to be, mindset's got to be like that when they turn up every game. Now, we've got certain players in our team that have got that mindset. I mean, for instance, Joy Fallon has that mindset for me. Yeah. Joy Fallon comes and he's the same, and he'll do it.
Fallon has that mindset.
Well, yeah, maybe, but Mason hasn't been around the team all season. I'm just talking about like because he's been injured. But I'm talking about, you know, I work with Joy Fallon, and Joy Fallon, you know, in training, in games, and his performance levels in games, you know, don't get me wrong, he's had his issues, yes, you know, a couple of them, right? But in the main, his performance levels is what you've just said. His performance levels are 7s and 8s and 9s, you know, and that has to be the same throughout your team with everybody. Everybody, they've got to have the same. They can't just come on a game and rack up and think, I've had a tough game at work. I've had a tough shift at work today. I'm not feeling it, and then go through the motions. It can't happen, because you're going to get caught with your pants down. So everything's got to be right. Your preparation for the game's got to be right, and I don't mean necessarily just your preparation with the club's coaching staff. I don't just mean that. You know, you've got to be able to want to do your own things. Yeah. You know, and it's all right saying, well, I'm a member of a gym and I go to a gym. You go to a gym, yeah, but are you doing the right things in a gym? You know, they'll go in a gym and start pumping things. And I think, well, which is the best thing? What's the best thing for you in a gym? If you're a footballer and you want to be getting your breathing right on it, to me, it's a blinking treadmill. Yeah. You know, varying things. Cardio. Exactly. You know, so they've got to do the right things. And then, like you say, some people, you know, they'll play when they're carrying injuries, and I think, and then you can tell that they're not right when they're playing, but they can't afford to play when you're carrying injuries, because you're letting the old shebang down. You know, it's mindsets, and you know, and like I said, everybody who wins the league. You know, whether they go up by certainly as champions, I've just got the utmost respect in everything they do. Now, you know, from where we are and where we set our stall out, to look at us, and I just think that, you know, we've got a young side, and in certain instances, I just think that they've one day the penny will drop, and that penny's got to drop, and as a collective, they will start to be consistent. But I think where we lack, if I've got to be perfectly honest, where we lack is without criticising anybody in the team, because I'm not here to do that and I won't do that. Where we lack, I just think we need some experience in the team that's been there, seen it, done it, and can organise and sort it out on the pitch. I mean, I'll give you an instance, right? I'm going to give you an instance here. It's been a match on TV today, right? First match, Bristol City v Leicester. Give you an instance, right? Bristol City, I've watched them several times. Very, very good young team, but they're young, right? Yep. Young. And I'm not just saying this because he's obviously part of me, but you know, when Matty James plays, who's the captain, when Matty James plays, they get more positive results than negative, right? Yeah. Because he's a leader, he knows the game, he's always in the right place to intercept and, you know, and then start making play the other way. He's pulling people about on the pitch, he's talking to people, and he makes a whole lot of difference. Now, there's no surprise that Bristol City have just gone through one of the worst runs of the season, where I think they've just had 5 back-to-back games where they haven't won, or certainly 4 back-to-back games they haven't won. It's no surprise that in that time, Matty James wasn't playing. He was on the treatment table, right? And they've had to, you know, trying to get him back. Today, they're playing Leicester City, who were up there at the top of the league, and they beat Leicester City, you know, 1-0, right? All right, at times they've led a charmed life, but Matty's come back, and they've got the 3 points, and they've kept a clean sheet.
But it's that organisation and able to talk the youngsters through a game.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's the leaders on the pitch and the leader. And I go back to captains that I've had in the past. I mean, one were in here on Saturday watching us on Saturday, Wayne Howarth. You know, I made him my captain when I were at Rosendale United and at Glossop North End, and he had he were a regular first teamer at Rosendale United before. Well, I were Rosendale United's reserve team manager, and he was a leader, but he'd lead by example. He'd not only lead as a player. Every game he'd go into on a football pitch, he will give you 120%. He would be up there giving you that. He'd run through a brick wall for you, and he'd organise. And you know, Steve Stott, Davy Luca at this football club. Davy Luca, you know, fantastic captain and leader. You know, Steve Stott, and he'd be like on the pitch. You know, he'd be like screaming at people, "Get your fucking ass back in here! Get in now! Now!" Yeah. You know, he'd be screaming at them and get them in, not switch off. Get in here now alongside me. Now, listen. This isn't me sitting here when I'm talking about leaders knocking my captain, because I'm not knocking my captain. You know, I'm saying you don't need this. You've heard the saying there could be 11 captains on the pitch. Yeah. You know, if you've got people that all talk and organise and pull people and know the game and pull people in, right? You're a team. You're more all together, if you will. Now, if you go back to the Scousers, right, and we've played FC St Helens, and if we go back to like even South Liverpool, you're not here. Right. They're together. They're together.
Yeah,
100%. They're together, and they're pulling people. Get in here.
When there's a scrap and when there's something going on, they're together.
They're together, 100%. And it's that. But we've got, like I said, we're a young group. You know, some of them only in the first season, some are in the blinking second season, some are in the blinking third and fourth season. But I feel that if we had a couple of experienced lads in the team that have been there, you know, had good careers and been there, then it would help to galvanise more on the pitch. And they haven't got that, because in games of football, when you lose your way, because at some point you do lose your way. I mean, I'll go back to that game today, Bristol City and Leicester. first half, Bristol were dominant, but Leicester came out the second half, and for 15, 20 minutes of the second half, it were men against boys for a time. But that's when you need your leaders, because to galvanise you in and let's stay in the game. Come on. Now, leadership isn't necessarily like just shouting and bawling. Come on. It's being constructive. And like I said, if I go back to the days when we won the league here, right, and you've got Steve Stottin, who's a midfield player, who'd absolutely tackle his own grandma, right, literally, right, seriously, but he'd be pulling people, he'd be telling them, get your ass in here now, you get in. Yeah. But so much people didn't turn around to him. Why are you talking to me like that for? Yeah. Why are you talking to me like that? It's not about talking to you like that. I'd like to turn around on here and say it's a man's game, but it's not. There's women in it now. But it used to be, get in here. Come on, get in here. Yeah. And sit in here now. Just sit in front of me. Go and win it. Telling them to go for a ball.
But it's those words we've talked about. Ownership, accountability. Demanding from each other, where the manager hardly has to say anything. The lads manage themselves.
Correct, exactly. If somebody's going to go and win it, you get a player, you might get a player's hesitating. Go and win it. Go. I come out with a statement at Southport, and I didn't mean it in a way that I wanted my player to hurt the Southport player. I didn't mean it that way. I could see my player coming towards the ball, but he was hesitant. And I've gone, fucking go through him. It was just a reaction. Do you know what I mean? Go through him. I meant, and he looked at me as I didn't mean it to hurt him. I meant, don't sit off. Go and win it.
Yeah, have purpose and go and get the ball.
Go and win the bloody thing. Yeah, exactly. If you're going to go up and head the ball, say to somebody, get up. So it encourages them to get up. Go and win it. All this. But this is what,
Does that come down to what you're talking about, though, Brent, about the experience or lack of experience?
Listen, we spoke about it. The lads wanted to give it a go this time to try and win the league. Now, you can't rack up at Exton Villa, who were playing the final, right? You can't rack up at Exton Villa and end up on the day whether the referee. Listen. Everybody's. It's not just Bacup Borough that gets in different referees. We all get them. FC St Helens have had in different referees. You're not telling me they've had all top referees all season. They haven't. So at the end of the day, you've got to. This is another thing about discipline and indiscipline. That game at Exton Villa, we're down to 7 men at one time because of sin bins. No, it's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. And that comes down.
Not to mention giving him a 2-goal lead.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're self-destructing. You're self-destructing. And then things can't happen. And that can only come from what I call naivety. It's being naive. At some point, the penny has to drop. I can bang home, Nigel can bang home, Alan can bang home. We can bang home all we want about discipline, right? And don't be answering back and don't do this. But that miss comes over certain players, and it happens. And it costs you in the long term, because obviously you're missing your best players. It's like listen, it's like a situation that happened on Saturday. We say to the lads, listen, you've got the shirt. It's up to you to give it back. Now, you can only give it back by not being available for selection. That means you're either away on holiday, or you're ill, or you're suspended. Any which way, you don't give it back. Now, unfortunately, a situation happened down the line last week against AFC Blackpool. And we've ended up with a player getting sent off for a second yellow. Now, I saw what unfolded, and in reality, but I went into the referee after and spoke with his also the referee and what his advisor or a coach or whatever because he were in, and to be honest, the coach said that our player should have had a straight red. It shouldn't have been a second yellow. It should have been a straight red for for what he did because he got frustrated and he went and kind of lashed out at the player that had intimidated him in the first place. Yeah. But my point is, it's not just the sending off. It's now he's got to get. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow at South Liverpool, but it's now getting him back in the team.
Yeah,
because somebody else has taken his shirt, but he's handed it to us.
Yeah,
because of his reaction. Now there comes a time where you've got to like control yourself. If you're out on the street, right, and you can't control your actions and you go on blinking lamp somebody, what the chances are you're going to get freaking locked up for GBH.
Yeah.
So what's the difference on a football pitch?
Well, there is no difference, but that comes down to, like you say, either experience, lack it, or just sometimes a bit immature, lacking maturity in certain situations.
Yeah, but it all, listen, there's no to win a league in any competition. What have you got to be? You've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Right? If you're consistent, how are you going to be? And you've all got to be singing from the same song sheet. That's throughout the camp, everybody. So if you've got players missing, the players coming in have to have the same mentality and same mindset. Right? That's what's got to happen. Now then, equally, you can't expect. And I'm not saying that, I can imagine some people are listening to this. You're not telling me that FC St. Helens players haven't played when they're not fit. I can't tell you that, but I'll know if they're not fit, they can't be playing at the top of their game because you'll get caught out.
Mm.
You get caught out. So, all these things and your discipline record or your indiscipline record, that can go against you because you're not picking your best, you haven't got your best players. So all these things are important if you want to be successful and winning a league in any competition. That's the way you've done, because there's an old saying in there where talent, if you've got to have, there's a sign in our changing rooms, you never fail till you stop trying. Now, again, I'll come back to AFC Blackpool here. I'm not going to take this isn't trying to be thing, but in terms of footballing ability, I think man for man, in most cases, we've got players in our team that has got far, far more technical ability than the Blackpool players, right? And that's not being disrespectful, that's a fact. But one thing is a stonewall certainty. If those skillful technical players don't turn up and aren't prepared to work rate and do the jobs out of possession like they should do, and they're working twice as hard, chances are they're going to win.
Yeah.
Because there's that's the saying that comes out of our changing room. There's a sign up: you never fail till you stop trying. And what AFC Blackpool do, and it epitomises, they just work the socks off. They just work hard for everybody. They never stop working. The pace that they play at is unbelievable. And you think to yourself, they can't sustain that whole game. But to be fair, I've watched them 2 games now, and they do.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I don't know if you remember, Chris Wilder, when he was Sheffield United manager the first time round. They were playing away at Liverpool and he were interviewed after the game. And I think it was the season that Liverpool won the championship. And he just said, what can you do when a team has, 1, got fitness, and 2, got the stamina and the balls to run for 90 minutes? There's no answer to that because they've got both departments.
You've got everything. Yeah, exactly. So, listen, FC St. Helens, utmost respect, great, congratulations. There's 4 weeks to go and they've done it and they've been consistent. Now, sometimes it's not, like you said to me off air, there's better teams in the league than AFC St. Helens. Well, there may be, but the one thing you can't take away from AFC St. Helens, they've been consistent.
That's the one.
And being consistent means to me, being consistent is every individual has turned up on the day when they're playing. Everyone, right? I mean, I mean, you can go through the team. They've got very, very good players. Starting off with a goalkeeper. I think their goalkeeper is excellent.
Yeah.
Me,
Joe Mason, good
I think
goalie.
I think he's excellent, and it's so important. That position is massive. If you think about, the teams.
I remember Michael back in the day. I'm going to steal your thunder, but 20, 30 points a season, Brent, from a goalkeeper.
Correct. 100%. So it's massive. It's important. They're important. It's important that everybody is tuned in. If you make a mistake, usually what happens is, right, goals come from mistakes. Let's be perfectly honest. They come from mistakes. So you expect, right, if a centre midfield player loses the ball and the lad's running towards the centre half, right, and the centre half wins the tackle, he's prevented. He's covered up your deficiency in midfield, because what he's done, he's won that challenge that you've given the ball away cheaply. So he's won that challenge. If he makes a mistake, right, and it goes through on goal and the keeper pulls off an absolute top drawer save, he has pulled both players out because they both made mistakes and it's gone through to keeper and the keeper's on top of his game. The one thing you've got to worry about is when both players make the mistakes and the goalkeeper's not at the races and he makes a mistake. What chance have you? You get me? That goes throughout the team.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
But there's no hiding place for a goalkeeper, because you can have a centre forward who's missed 7 or 8 chances in a game. He might have scored one right at the death.
Yeah, you're right.
Your goalkeeper makes one mistake and everyone remembers it.
Yeah, he's highlighted. By the way, this isn't having a go at our keeper. I'm just talking in general. Yeah. This is in general. That's exactly right. Goals come usually from mistakes, right? That's where they come from being a mistake. And somebody, right, depending on where you lose the ball. I mean, I can remember once we had a game here, and it was in the Lancashire FA Trophy on Bay Cup. Rodri Giggs were playing here at the time, right? And with a young goalkeeper in. Right, because we had an injury and we had a young goal. It was his first game, and we nothing. I had to put him in. Our striker failed to hold the ball up front, and they broke on us. They counted on us because he failed to hold the ball up. Right, and from that they got in, put it out wide. It come down the byline. He put a cross in, and the keeper's made a bloomer off the cross. At half time, going in, Rodri Giggs and a few other senior players were giving the goalkeeper a right bollocking. I've gone in change room at full time. They haven't looked at the striker, who's freaking not held his freaking pants up, right? And I've gone freaking absolutely mad at the striker, and they're looking at me saying, why are you blaming the striker? Because that's where it started from. Yeah. He's lost the ball. He should have held the ball up. If he holds the ball up and protects it, that ball doesn't happen, and the ball doesn't go out wide, and that cross doesn't come in, and the keeper doesn't.
One of your favourite sayings is, "Take it back, take it back," and it's true, isn't it? Take it back to where it started from.
To where it started, yeah, exactly, 100%. And people don't. They only look at what the last piece of it.
Mm.
The last piece.
There might be 5 pieces of that jigsaw. Yeah.
Something's happened further up the pitch. And that's where it's all stemmed from. And that's why you've got to take more care of the ball, look after it, stay on it. Don't be wasteful, don't get beat cheaply, don't lose it. So, anyway, yeah. But credit to
this is all part of, like you said, with FC St Helens. This is where it's a collective, isn't it? All areas of the pitch need to be on the ball every single week. So all the time,
all the time, and that's where you go. Whereas, listen, you can turn up, right? You can turn up for a one-off game, which is a cup game, right? And you're up for it because it's like our lads were up for it in the semi-final against South Liverpool. They're up for it. They knew that if they got beat in that, they were one game away from a final, and they knew that'd be it. So they give you that extra. Everybody's focused. Now, to me, the mindset of that group that day, that night, should be the same mindset going into every league game.
Bottling it up for 36, 37, 38 games.
Exactly. That's what it should be like. 100%.
Anyway, talking briefly about tomorrow, we've got to focus on tomorrow's game away at South Liverpool. We know what to expect. You know what to expect from them. And it'll be another chance for players to stake a claim ready for the cup final, I suppose, now, Brent. Because it's their shirt to lose.
The cup final's a long time off, isn't it, really? But he'll soon be here. And like I've said, you know, I mean, although it were off in midweek, the squad that was picked in... Listen, the squad that was picked for the semi-final against South Liverpool, right, they did the business. So I wouldn't be doing any favours to anybody if I bring people who weren't available for whatever reason for that game, if I'd have brought them back for the game after. That sends the wrong message out to me. You know, especially when we've been drumming it into them all season, you know, that it's your shirt. You know, when you get the shirt, it's yours to lose. You know, so if you think about the next game that we were playing or due to play after the South Liverpool game, right? The squad said the same for the Blackpool game, right? And in the Blackpool game, take Malachi Clark, who before he went away on his course, what he had to do for work, he was probably one of our most consistent performers and playing in varying different positions throughout. But the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to get off the course. He hasn't been able to come and participate in important matches. He couldn't play at Southport, even though I tried my best with the leader of the course to let him off and play. He couldn't participate in that game. He couldn't participate in games after that. So even though he was available to play last week against AFC Blackpool, right? He didn't make the squad, he didn't make the squad because he's a bad player, and he didn't make the squad because he's been having bad performances. He didn't make the squad because the players who had taken the shirt whilst he's been away have performed at an acceptable level. Yeah. And it wouldn't be right to take it off them. Right? Because that's where you do get favouritism, and that's when you do get anarchy in your camp. Now, that weren't happening. So if you look at the Blackpool game, you've got Malachi Clark on sidelines, not even in the squad. You've got Connor Morris, who had tonsillitis and had to pull out to the South Liverpool game. He were the same. He was on the sideline, didn't even make the squad. Right? You've then got Gareth Wager that were out injured. Well, all injury is injury. So my point is, when it comes to the next game, which would have been midweek game, again, why would you're not going to change the squad? And in certain instances, especially now, let's take the kind of the Brad Hancock situation, right? It's quite simple. Under normal circumstances, what would happen? Brad would go, coming back from injury, would go and get his fitness, build his fitness up by playing for the 23s. The 23 games haven't been being played because of obviously the weather and the pitches, and obviously our games haven't been played. So we've not been able to do that. Even training's been getting called off because of the state of the pitches. Now we're coming to the start of into a period where we've got a game Saturday, we've got a game Monday, we've got a game Wednesday, we've got a game Saturday. So in space of 7 days, we've got like 4 games in 7 days, something like that. So he's an experienced player, unfit. So the only way that he can get, so it might be, I can't look through a crystal ball, but it might be that we might need him. So, but at the minute, fitness level wise, nobody can take away ability. You've always got ability. Your ability's there, but your fitness level wise, he's not there. So I can't give him the under 23 games, right? he's a contract player, so he can't go and get games, like say for Whitworth Valley, right? To get games. So the only thing I can do is include him in my squad and let him do the warm ups and try and give him some minutes in a game to build him up, right? So these are things I've got to think about. Now, some people might not even agree with that and think, well, that shouldn't be happening, but it has to happen because I can't. If we have a couple of bad injuries or we have a couple of injuries picked up on Saturday and Monday, we're going to go into Wednesday and we're not even going to have anywhere near fit Brad Hancock.
And the fact is, with Brad, as you know, the Borough fans will know, he's a versatile player. He can play in several positions.
100%. So these are things I've got to think out and I've got to think ahead. Now you get some players that'll turn around and say, well, hang on, he's not fit. Why is he on the bench? Well, that's my decision, not yours. If you want to go and be a manager, right, pack in play and go and be a player manager for whoever, Daisy Hill or somewhere like that. But don't come telling me what I'm doing, because I know what I'm doing and there's a reason behind why I'm doing stuff. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but like you say, when there's no under 23 games, then you've got no alternative but to put him amongst the group.
Correct, and that's basically what I've done. But like I said, it's there. They've all got the shirts. It's for them to give it back. Now, unfortunately, for one of our players who got sent off last week, he's had to hand his shirt back. There's nothing he can do. It's a blow for him. And now he's got to fight his way back in. Now if I were these players, and this is me talking, if you're in that squad at the minute, you need to be making sure you stay in that squad. Now, one of them things is to go to South Liverpool on Saturday and be up for the game and put in a top drawer performance. Whether you're, starting line up, and if the subs are on, they've got to do what they have to do when they're on the pitch. If they don't go on, well, they don't go on. But they've got to put a top drawer performance in. If they don't put a top drawer performance in, then they're asking for changes on the Monday. And this is how it'll be up to. So they can't afford it, and they know what they're going to go in. On Saturday, we are going into the Lions' Den. Listen, again, I will say it here. I have got the utmost respect for South Liverpool. You know, the lovely people. The only thing I don't like down there, hospitality. The lady in hospitality. Even though the manager wouldn't shake Nigel's hand at the end, and he said something to him and said, "I'll go and shake Brent's hand." I'm surprised he shook my hand because we were falling out before it game over at pitch. But one thing's a stonewall certainty. He hated our pitch when he came here last Wednesday. They hated our pitch because obviously there's a sanded area, so he didn't like our pitch. But 100%, I can't speak for my players, but 100%, I hate his pitch. So it is what it is, because it's plastic. It's blinking not right. You get me? So they hated our pitch, I hate their pitch. But listen, away from hating their pitch and they hated our pitch, I have the utmost respect for everybody down there. You know, and to be fair to them, they sat third at the minute in the league. You know, if they could, when I was speaking to him after the game, he thinks it's probably because I think Exton have a couple of games in hand, and can overtake them, and there's somebody else up in that pack that can overtake them. But in reality, it'd be, in some respects, it would be good if they could get up with the AFC St Helens, because what it does is it epitomises whether we like the Scousers or we don't like the Scousers. And by the way, I do like the Scousers, right? Yeah. Even though I'm a Red, right? I've the utmost respect for them because I've got some good friends who are Scousers, right? And I work with some, great people who are Scousers, right? But would it not epitomise just what Merseyside's about if AFC St Helens have won the league and South Liverpool go up with them?
Definitely would. Just going to bring that up. I don't know. You can't see that, Brent. I don't know if you. Yeah, you can. There. No. Looking at that league table, as you said, South Liverpool in third place. They've played 31 games, So they played a few more, but it's really tight up there at the moment. Aston Town, they're in the mix. Route 1 Rovers, even Ilkley Town. You can go, and then Exton as well. So it's all to play for. So as you said, they're going to be well up for this game tomorrow, and we need to be at it from the get-go, don't we?
100%. That's what I mean. This is it. This is where the consistency comes in. It's no good doing it on a blinking Wednesday night up at Cowtoot Lane under lights. You've got to do it down there at the blinking down at Jericho Lane on a plastic pitch. Go and do it. Go and do it. Just you know what you're going to be up against. They're a good side. Let's not. And to be honest, they've had a good season. They've had a decent run in the Vars. They got to the semi-final of the Edward Case Cup. They're still challenging in the league. So, it's all to play for. And the lads have got to be ready.
We've got Jeffrey Bottomley's with us. He said, I've just been in trouble for listening to you on the loudspeaker on the train. Laughing faces. What our fault, Jeffrey?
Well, at least you're alive to blinking to come and say that. What I was seeing about a train the other day, somebody got stabbed on one, didn't they? So at least, it's all happening.
Talk about Darwen, because that's bank holiday Monday. All being well, always good games. Bit of a rivalry between the two clubs and two quality teams.
Hang on, who's saying there's a rivalry? No rivalry where I'm concerned. It's just another game. Where's there a rivalry?
I think there's a little bit of a rivalry between.
Might be with you and it might be with the two media men. And it's not. There's certainly no rivalry where I'm concerned.
Not where you're concerned. It's always a good game with them.
Yeah, it's always a good competitive game. With Darwen, and I'm sure a bank holiday Monday will be no different. If you want your football fix, get yourself to Cowtoot Lane and bake up, and I'm sure it will be a good game. It'll be competitive. It'll be a good game. It'll be a good game at that. It's always a good game. They're always competitive games. This is what I mean about there's certain clubs in the league that are out and out that on the day, the state of them, mentality, they're winners. Yeah. Darwen have got players in their team, the mentality is they're winners.
Yeah.
And if you're winners, you're going out at all costs to win. And sometimes as a winner, you overstep the mark, whatever, but you physically, I haven't got a problem with physicality in football, as long as it's not way over the top where it's going to really, really damage somebody. Competitive, there's a difference. There's a difference between being blinking crude and dirty, right, and out to maim somebody, or being competitive, where a good strong hard challenge. There's nothing wrong with good strong hard challenges, although biggest private referees these days will outlaw it, because I'm sure they're trying to get tackling out of the game, which would be a crying shame, because that's what makes football. There's nothing better than a player putting in a blinking,
good honest tackle,
good honest strong challenge. And Darwen have players in the team that are capable of doing that, and we've got players in our team that's capable of doing that. So it will be an Easter bunny cracker.
It will. And if you want to tune in tomorrow afternoon, 2:45, 3 o'clock kickoff away at South Liverpool. Anything else to add before we wrap it up, Brent?
Not really, apart from there's a good fish and chip shop up in Settle near the Co-op.
I'm going to be there in about 20 minutes, sir.
See you later, pal.